a response from Tottenham after that final bid was submitted. Bayern, from their point of view, they wanted a quick response to this. They know that they've got other targets and they would like to move on to those other targets if it transpires that no deal will be able to be done for Harry Kane. I mean, from Tottenham's point of view and from Harry Kane's point of view, he's happy at Tottenham. If the move doesn't materialise, he's preparing for the new season as normal, and he would look forward to the new season as normal. He won't sign a new contract this summer. That's not to say that he won't eventually sign a new contract if he does stay. But at the moment, we're still waiting for a response from Tottenham. Bayern Munich still waiting for a response on this firm and final offer from them.
Well, speaking after the game, Tottenham manager Ange Postecoglou aimed a little dig towards Bayern. Listen to this.
We know there's one deadline, that's the end of the transfer window. Beyond that, I think, look, I'm in open dialogue with Harry and the club on a regular basis. I've said to them, if the status quo changes, then inform me. I don't need to know about the sort of, comings and goings in between, because I just want to deal with what's in front of me, because I'm still, irrespective of the outcome of that, I'm still building a team here, and I can't wait for a decision either way to get going, because, we don't have the time or the luxury to do that. So, I'm working with what's in front of me, and you saw today that, Harry's certainly invested in what we're doing, and we'll keep doing that unless something changes. He's a fantastic striker, one of the world's best, and I think the way the team plays will help him as well. He loves scoring goals, and as you saw today, we can create a lot of chances. So he's going to be the beneficiary of that.
George.
And Harry often applauds the fans like that, but him walking out on his own, fans may question whether that was a good buy. Would you say sort of not to read too much?
Well, you are reading something into it, aren't you? So, look, again, I'm not going to tell people how they feel or what they want to read into it at the end of the day, and I don't even know, sort of what's in Harry's mind, let alone anyone else's.
What is going on in the Women's World Cup match between England and Nigeria? Lee Hendry.
Oh, my word. I cannot believe what I've just seen. It's gone to VAR. Unbelievable. Greenwood flashes a ball in, like an in-swinging free kick from the left-hand side. And it's great bit of movement from Rachel Daly. She just peels away from Ajibade. What they've looked at is that she's just been grabbed en route, just getting away from Ajibade. As she gets into the box, she's quite clever. She just backs into Ajibade and she barges her down to the ground, which looked like that was going to be why the penalty was given. What they're saying is, as she's ran into the box, that's where it started from. There's no penalty, there's no free kick. It's nothing. It was a great opportunity, and I just felt that England were going to go and have a penalty. I thought there was a foul in the box, personally. But obviously the VAR and the officials have said no penalty, and it remains 0-0.
Yeah, no penalty given, no goals yet. Lee, thank you. Right, OK, we were just hearing from Ange Postecoglou on the future of Harry Kane, and what he was saying, Kwaku, was that, well, it doesn't matter what deadline Bayern Munich set, there's one deadline, and that's deadline day. What will the Tottenham fans make of the stance that Postecoglou gave there?
Spurs fans will absolutely love it. He's basically sowing the seeds of a siege mentality, and it's almost us against them. And he has to be vocal. Obviously, this is a star player, and we discussed last week what he'd prefer. Would he prefer to sell Harry Kane and cash in and be able to rebuild his squad, or keep Harry Kane and have a better chance of qualifying for Europe next season? You see him waving to the fans. Hopefully for Spurs fans, that's not waving goodbye. And he did what Harry Kane does best. He scored goals, and that's what he can bring to the Spurs side. We saw him score so many goals last season. And Ange Postecoglou will hope that this situation, whichever way it goes, is resolved as soon as possible, because Harry Kane's an incredible asset, but also, on the same tokens, and an asset that they could sell and get a lot of money for. So Spurs fans will love the fact that Postecoglou's come out firing, but as would all Spurs fans as well, they'd love that situation to get sorted out as ASAP.
So, James, we know that there is a transfer deadline. Bayern had a supposed deadline. Harry Kane's got a supposed deadline at the start of the season. But do Tottenham need to set a deadline? He is their player. Should they be the ones who say, right, you've got to have made an acceptable bid for Harry Kane, our player, by this time, otherwise he's staying?
I think Ange Postecoglou is completely right there's been so much talk about deadlines, but ultimately the only one that really matters is transfer deadline day on the 1st of September. Now, we know Harry Kane wants his future resolved before the start of this season. Spurs' first game against Brentford on Sunday, so that's a soft deadline, but you can't really be setting hard deadlines when it comes to a transfer window where anything can happen at any moment. I think if Spurs do get to that Brentford game and Harry Kane is starting, possibly as captain, then that's a mini win for them. But saying that, we're still in a situation where Kane is out of contract next summer and he could move to a Premier League rival for free, which is a very real scenario because he's unwilling to sign a contract with Spurs this summer at least. But with Manchester United now wrapping up their deal for Rasmus Højlund, it does look like the only way that Harry Kane would leave now would be to another European club rather than a Premier League rival. So Spurs will say, job done so far. He's not going to be playing against us this year. He could be next summer. But Spurs will be hoping, let's just get to Sunday with Harry Kane, a Spurs player. Ange Postecoglou answered 14 questions yesterday, 7 of them about Harry Kane. Unfortunately for him, that's going to be the case for the rest of this window, probably until he signs a new contract, if he does.
As much as Ange Postecoglou talks about not having a deadline, the deadline is the end of the window, he's also spoken about how he doesn't want this rumbling on. And Tottenham fans don't want this rumbling on as well. So it's either, what's the deadline? Is it going to be the start of the season? Is it going to be the end of the transfer window? Look, the bottom line is Tottenham have set their asking price. Bayern have come in below that. And Tottenham have asked for more money. They've submitted this, what they're calling a final offer. So it's now down to Tottenham to negotiate. We know that Daniel Levy has been in the United States over the weekend. We're told that's nothing to do with anything transfer related. So we're just waiting now for this to develop over the next few hours and days.
And what you would also say is that Spurs and Kane in this situation exuding calmness. It's very different to 2 years ago where Harry Kane wanted to go to Man City and it seemed a bit frantic from the Kane side of things, the Spurs side of things. It's Bayern who are frantic in this situation in terms of the comments that the delegates are making. Uli Hoeneß come out and made some incredible comments about Kane agreeing personal terms. And I can understand from Daniel Levy's point of view that they're in a position of strength right now. Bayern Munich really want this player. Thomas Tuchel came out and said how they really need a number 9. Harry Kane would fit the mould of a Bayern Munich striker. Obviously, they're trying to fill that void left by Lewandowski. But Spurs are in a position of strength, which is strange to suggest, considering they could potentially lose a player that's worth so much to them.
I want to know what the Tottenham fans think of this, by the way. Hashtag transfer talk to give us your thoughts on this, the final week before the season starts, even though there's 25 days left in the transfer window. What do you see happening with Harry Kane? Hashtag transfer talk on Twitter. But Dave, at the end of last week, Bayern Munich made this supposed final offer for Tottenham. We've been saying we don't know if it's been accepted or rejected. But since that bid, Harry Kane has played and captained Tottenham. So surely it hasn't been accepted, which means it's been rejected, surely.
Well, in some ways you're right. Yeah, in many circumstances when a bid is made and it's been accepted, players don't play because the selling club don't want the player to pick up any injuries. And if you'd have seen the pictures there of Harry Kane waving to the supporters at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, maybe that gives another signal. Was that a farewell? I mean, you read into everything at this point in time. But from his point of view, he has to prepare for the season as if nothing's going to change. That's what Harry Kane has been doing. And that's what he will do with the season approaching on Sunday. So was it a farewell? Was he playing his final game? Has the bid been accepted? We're waiting to find out.
Well, let's get the Tottenham fans' perspective on this right now, because Lee McQueen from the Last Word on Spurs podcast joins us. Good morning to you, Lee. Great to see you. We don't believe, as a panel, that it was a farewell yesterday. What did you think?
Hi, Tom. Hi, panel. No, I don't think you can read into that. Everybody becomes body language experts, don't they, Tom, at this time, especially around Harry Kane. You just referenced 2 years ago with the Man City situation. I think Kane's camp, Charlie and Kane's camp have been very clever this time around. It is all on Daniel Levy now. Bayern have been very, very open in terms of wanting the player and doing all the tactics that they've been doing, shirts at press conferences and all sorts of stuff from their journalists. And I think the Kane camp now said, look, we're happy to stay. We're happy to do what's right for the club, and it's now over to Daniel Levy. And I just can't see how the fans are going to get on board with Daniel Levy selling Harry Kane. Just scored another 4 goals. I mean, this guy scored 30 goals in the Premier League last season. And, what could he do in this Postecoglou team? I mean, you've all got to agree that we've had over 100 shots in three pre-season friendlies. I mean, this guy could go and score 35. He could surpass what Haaland done this season or last season gone. So I think it's now down to Daniel Levy. Does he cash in or does he stand firm? And obviously, as you guys have been talking about, lose Harry for free potentially next year.
How happy have the fans been with his professionalism? He has kept quiet. He's been going about his business. And in fact, he's been as professional can be.
I completely agree. I think, that is one thing upon many that you get from Harry Kane. Complete professionalism, goes about his business. He does that at the end of every single game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, claps the fans, goes round the pitch. There was no goodbyes. There was goodbyes a couple of seasons ago, again, with Man City. It wasn't goodbyes. So I don't think you can read into that. He's been absolutely brilliant. And I think that I genuinely think he loves the club. Like, we know he loves the club. And I think that's one of the key things, really, is that it's a tough decision for him as well.
What do you think, in terms of the club, what people are saying is, well, why would you possibly let him go for free? Surely you need to get some money in right now. What do you think is best for the club right now to keep him for that year? Extra chance of getting into the Champions League with him, of course. But, again, the risk of losing him for free.
Well, I think that, as an emotional fan, I suppose, that's the second part to that question, Tom, is the bit that we worry about. He can go anywhere on a free. He can sign a pre-contract in 6 months' time. He can go anywhere to any other Premier League club at the end of the season on a free. Does he rock up to Chelsea and join up with Maurizio Pochettino, if he's still there, at that period of time? That would be a nightmare scenario for certainly for me and a lot of Tottenham fans. But I think when you look at the money, it's not our money. I know most fans will say that we pay for it because of the ticket prices and everything that's going on at the club from that side of things. But the reality is that is Harry Kane worth 100 million, I think he put another 20 million on his valuation yesterday. I know it was a pre-season friendly, but my word, I mean, if he's scoring 4 goals against a genuine Champions League side who've already started their season in Shakhtar Donetsk, what can he do in the Premier League and in the domestic cups that we're in this season? So I do think that for the club, he's the best player I've ever seen live at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at White Hart Lane. I think we've got to go all out to keep him, and you've got a year to try and convince him that we're going in the right direction. There's only 3 trophies that we can go after. I'm not going to say win before I get ridiculed, but we can only go after 3 trophies this year. And Man City last year won 3 of them, right, out of the 4 that they could go after. So it's very, very tough to win trophies, as we know, and everybody labels Kane, you've got to go and win trophies. But actually, it's about being competitive and saying, have we got a chance? I think the last couple of seasons, we haven't had a chance. And under Postecoglou, only time will tell, Tom, whether or not we have got a chance. And Harry Kane could cement himself. He's already a legend at Tottenham, but he could cement himself and do something different, Harry. Be a one-club man. Do something different to everybody else. Don't go and chase. Go and stay with Tottenham and help us try and win something and put that to bed that we don't win trophies.
Can you see that being any different this year, though? Because all of your previous managers will have said exactly the same thing to Harry Kane, albeit with longer left in his contract. Why would it be different this time?
It's a tough one. Again, it's hard to argue that question, Tom, to be fair. I mean, maybe what you could say is that we've had 101 plus shots on goal, 44 shots on target in 3 pre-season friendlies. We've got 70% possession on average. This is a completely different way of playing football, and it's only just started. James Maddison's absolutely outstanding signing for Tottenham Hotspur. Fits the mould perfectly well. So, we need reinforcements at the back, and that is for sure. Maybe bringing in Mickey van der Ven and some other reinforcements might convince Harry. But I agree, it's tough. Tottenham generally don't go after trophies. We want to, but we never do. Maybe it's different under Postecoglou, but we can't answer that question now. Only maybe after February, and then, of course, at the end of the season.
Lee, I've got a feeling we're going to be talking about this all the way until deadline day. Thanks very much, Lee. Great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Tottenham in talks, of course, very much in advanced talks with Mickey van der Ven, who was at the game yesterday. A defender, looks like, is on his way to Tottenham. Right, back to Lee Hendry, who's watching the game between England and Nigeria. Into stoppage time now, Lee. How are England doing? Because Nigeria, they seem to be on top, everything that I've seen so far.
Yeah, they've been excellent, Nigeria have. They've had a couple of attempts again where Millie Bright has had to put her body on the line and force a massive block as that shot's been played in. It deflected back into the path of one of the Nigeria players. Again, the strike there, Jess Carter, absolutely brilliant Again, similar to Millie Bright, putting her body on the line and forcing a really big block. They've looked so dangerous, Tom, on the turnovers. They really have. And defensively, they've sounded how England have played. I think there'll be a change. I really do. I think Serena Wiegman's got to have a think about how she can access, how they can break this Nigerian side down. Because at this moment in time, they're not using the likes of Daly, they're not using the likes of Bronze at all in them wide areas and utilising this formation to the best of it. So I think there's going to be some big questions at half-time, but England have been nowhere near their best at all.
Lee, thank you. Still 0-0 there. A couple of tweets just from the Tottenham fans that we asked for. Paul says he seems the only way that Harry Kane's getting out of Tottenham is at the end of his contract. Levy won't sell him for anything less than £100 million, which is a crazy price tag for someone with only 12 months left in his contract. And Harrison says that just because Harry Kane played for Tottenham yesterday doesn't mean that the bid's been rejected. They may be actually playing him to show how good he is, to try to drive that asking price up. Keep your tweets coming in on Harry Kane and much more. There's a quick line to bring you from Arsenal, though, because Inter Milan want to sign their striker, Folarin Balogun. Arsenal value him at £50 million. More on that to come as well on Good Morning Transfers. The team will be discussing the future of Moise Caicedo. Will Chelsea third bid for the midfielder? Half-time in the World Cup last 16 match between England and Nigeria. Goalless so far. Lee Hendry's been watching this one for us. Lee, how surprised have you been that Nigeria have been on top?
Do you know what, Tom? I'm not surprised at all. You don't get to the final stages of a tournament, you know, just willy-nilly. You've got to have a game plan of how you're going to approach different teams, different setups, and that's what Nigeria have done. They've been absolutely excellent defensively. They've worked hard all around the pitch. They've been aggressive. They played on the front foot. They haven't just sat in and said to England, "Come on, let's come and attack us." They've literally gone for England. They've played forward-minded football. I think the key thing in this is, which I've written down here, Ichabi and Lauren James. She has done a remarkable job. I've just watched her pretty much the whole of that first half, and she's followed her everywhere. She's nullified anything that's gone into that forward area. I just feel that that's a big problem, and that's what needs to be identified at half-time. They've gone into the half, and they should clearly be, I think, 1, maybe 2 down, Tom, and that's no lie at all. There's been some fantastic blocks. They've hit the crossbar. They've had some really good opportunities, but now it's time to think, right, let's come out and let's ask questions of Nigeria, which they haven't done enough of for me in that first half.
Sarina Wiegman, yeah, you were talking last time about potentially some change at half-time. Sarina Wiegman is very adept at changing the formation depending on the opponent. She won't be panicking here yet, will she?
No, definitely not. Listen, it's 0-0 at half-time, and I feel like England have rode their luck in that first half. They haven't asked enough questions with the attacking threat that they have on the pitch. I touched on James, you've got Hemp, you've got Russo. I don't feel they've used this formation to the best, like they did against China. You know, we've seen plenty of opportunities where they played front foot, they got the ball into wide areas, Daly was on the ball, Lucy Bronze got on the ball, and this formation is so key. You need to get your wing-backs on the ball. At times, we've seen Millie Bright stepping in and being a midfielder, but that isn't the case today. It's really because they can't identify where they can access little areas behind this Nigeria solid back unit. They've been absolutely brilliant.
Right, OK, Lee, so we'll be back to the second half in terms of that game. However, this is Good Morning Transfers, so we better ask you about transfers, especially at Aston Villa, and I'm sure you'll have a smile on your face. Moussa Diaby, Pau Torres, Yuri Tielemans, how happy are you so far?
Well, I wouldn't say we're going to win the league, Tom, by any stretch, but you know they're great signings, aren't they? And I think we've slowly, I feel, progressed. I know, obviously, since Steven Gerrard left the football club, Unai Emery came in, and it was a brilliant capture for me as a head coach. I think what they did last season was absolutely remarkable. I really do. I felt that, you know, the likes of Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, they didn't really perform, which give Aston Villa that priority to really go and fixate a top 7 spot, which I felt that they'd done really well last season defensively, and I just felt that he's come in and got them organised. He's brought in some really key players. This would be my only dilemma, is that we've got lots of good midfielders now. You know, you've got Tielemans, you've got McGinns, you know, you've got Ramses, you've got so many players to pick from, and in that back line now, as I said, they brought Pau Torres in, so that gives a little bit of a challenge to the likes of Tyrone Mings. Concert. I don't know what formation he's going to actually go with, and this is where I've tried to puzzle and put this jigsaw together. What's he going to do? He's going to keep everyone guessing, I'm pretty sure, but we've had some really, really good signings come through the door, and it's making Villa think, can we go and do something this season yet again?
Do you think that they actually need any other positions, or you think at this stage the squad's set?
Yeah, well, I look in the forward area, Tom, and you know, Ollie Watkins has been excellent. At times, I feel that he has to do an awful lot through that front line. My worry is if he gets injured, we've got an excessive amount of games that we're going to be playing next season in this Europa League, Conference League, and cup games. This would be my only worry. I know we've got Cameron Archer still in the building. I hope he gets his opportunity, because I feel he's a different type striker. That would be my only area that I felt that possibly they might need that little bit of strength in depth in that forward line, but then you can maybe push a Bailey through the middle, you can push a Diaby through the middle. He's obviously got an option of what he's thinking about, and I'm hoping that's Cameron Archer that's going to be amongst that forward line.
A lot of people are saying that Aston Villa are going to be not only chasing the Champions League, maybe even breaking into that top 4. I know you've said they're not going to win the league, but how far can they go?
Listen, I think it's going to be a tough season. I really do. And the expectation levels now at the football club are obviously going to rise because of what they did last season. Getting into Europe is absolutely massive. It's where the club has had history. Listen, I would take a similar sort of finish to what we did last season. I really do. If we finish in the top half and we have a fantastic cup run, we do well in Europe, it'd be brilliant for the football club. I do feel that, you know, as fans, as pundits, we can say that Villa look very good on paper, but you know, the extent amount of games that they're going to have to go through in the season, they might need one or two more coming through the door, if I'm being quite honest. So for me to finish in the top 6, I think it's a big ask this season. I think it's all about progression, and I feel that the club is certainly going in the right direction. I think we've got a great manager, great signings. We just need the fans to buy into what he's going to achieve, and eventually I think we will be amongst the top 4 at some stage.
Lee, thank you. We'll be back with you for the second half of the England game. Still to come on Good Morning Transfers. We're just 4 days away from the start of the Premier League. We're asking who needs to do some business right now. Get in touch if it's your club. #TransferTalk.
Sky Sports News, sponsored by Shaw Non-Stop Protection.
Welcome back to Good Morning Transfers. We're going to go to the future of Moise Caicedo. He wasn't part of Brighton's final pre-season game against Rayo Vallecano yesterday and was given the weekend off to focus on the Premier League opener. That's against Luton, amid speculation over his future. Chelsea continue to work on a deal, but as yet have not matched Brighton's valuation. This is what manager Roberto De Zerbi had to say about the midfielder yesterday.
But I don't know, if Moise leaves, we will find another important player. And if Moise will stay, I will be happy for us, for the team, for the club. But it's not my problem now.
I know you said it's not your problem, but he's been given the weekend off to focus on the opener against Luton. Have you had to speak to him one-on-one, as I know you previously have done with players that have ended up leaving the club?
Yes, but we are speaking about transfer market, and transfer market, you know, is not my first job. It's not my second job. I have to give the organization of my players, and I have to give instruction how we have to play, not more.
Right, Dave, Roberto De Zerbi seems quite relaxed about losing one of his best players. Why?
Well, he may not lose one of his best players. I think that's probably why he's quite relaxed. I think Brighton in a position of strength, given the new contract that Moise Caicedo signed early this year, and that means essentially that Brighton can command top dollar. It was kind of deflection a little bit there towards the people who make the key decisions at Brighton. That'll be David Weir and I guess at the top of the tree it'd be Tony Bloom at Brighton. I guess he's relaxed because they could keep him, and also if they sell him, he knows that the Brighton conveyor belt, which we almost take for granted, that they've just got players to come in, and every single one of them seems to be absolutely outstanding in the Premier League. Mahmoud Dahoud and Billy Gilmour played central midfield against Rayo Vallecano yesterday in the absence of Caicedo. Pascal Gross has played there in pre-season as well. They've got a youngster, 19-year-old Yassin Ayari, who was signed in January from Sweden, just 19 years of age. He got some minutes towards the end of last season in the Premier League. He's the next one that Brighton, we know, have got really, really high hopes for, and he could very well get many more minutes this season if the Caicedo deal goes through.
Well, the Brighton CEO is Paul Barber. He told us yesterday he's full of confidence, actually, that Caicedo will be with them next season.
He had a slight hamstring injury late in training and was pulled out for that reason. So again, with a Premier League season starting in a week from now, it makes no sense to risk him today.
I mean, obviously there's been significant interest in Caicedo from another Premier League club. Will this affect that development?
No, not at all. As far as we're concerned, you know, we're looking forward to Moise starting the season with us. He's a Brighton player. He's under a long contract. He's probably one of the most exciting midfield players in the world, and we're delighted to have him.
So, Kwaku, do you share his confidence that Caicedo will be staying?
I'm a little bit sceptical. We have to take them at their word. Brighton are stern negotiators. But I do remember last season when Cucurella pulled out of a pre-season game against Espanyol with a slight injury, and 6 days later he joined Chelsea. So there's been history for this and precedent, and I'm sure if Chelsea stump up with the cash that Brighton want, then Caicedo will be a Chelsea player. But Chelsea do have to meet that valuation of Caicedo. The Cucurella situation was slightly different, though, because the Stupinian was ready-made to come and start in the Premier League. You outlined some of the players that have started for Brighton in centre midfield this pre-season. They're not of the level of Caicedo quite yet. And he's very, very difficult to replace in terms of what he gives this Brighton side. So it's understandable why Brighton are playing hardball. And it's down to Chelsea now. The ball is now firmly in Chelsea's court. The season starts on Friday. And if Chelsea want this player that is going to enhance their first 11, then they're going to have to pay the money that Paul Barber and Brighton want.
James, to some degree, it's déjà vu from January. But why is this situation a little bit different?
It's slightly different. Back in January, you remember Moise Caicedo took to Instagram and spoke about publicly wanting to join another Premier League club. That was Arsenal. Brighton had 2 bids rejected for him, the last one around £70 million. And Brighton told Caicedo to stay away from the training ground in the last few days of the transfer window before they reintegrated him into the side, and he did so well, helping Brighton achieve European football for the first time in their history. He then stayed, and in March he signed a new deal, which takes him up to 2027. Club have got an option of another year on that. But Brighton said yesterday he missed that pre-season game because of a tight hamstring. No need to risk him ahead of the start of the season. But whether or not he'll be in that side taking on Luton in a Brighton shirt on Saturday. We wait to see. Brighton's stances remain the same, but it does look like Chelsea are going to come back with a third bid.
Let's get back out to the World Cup. How have England started in the second half against Nigeria? Lee Hendry.
Not very good, Tom, because Nigeria's just hit the crossbar yet again. Ball in from the left-hand side. Not a great cross, if I'm being quite honest. It's really high and floated in, and it's Kanu that just gets the better of Daly at the back post, just comes in and just heads it right towards goal. Got no right to really get any purchase on it. Does. It just comes off the top of the bar. I think that's a bit of a wake-up call, because I felt at half-time we'd see a different England. I haven't seen it just yet. They need to be better on the ball. They need to be brave. And I think if they do them things, I think they will eventually break Nigeria down. But again, it's continued exactly the way that first half finished.
Lee, thank you. Right, just 25 days to go until the window closes. We're also just 4 days away from the beginning of the Premier League. So will we see a lot of transfer activity over the coming days? We're taking a look who needs to do something right now, not between now and the end of the window, between now and the start of the Premier League season. We asked you on Twitter what you thought. William Baker says that Chelsea need to get some work done in midfield. Yes, Caicedo, but also he likes Barella and James Ward-Prowse as well. Someone who goes by the name of Bardiola says that Kweku Afari sounds worried about Chelsea's midfield if they don't get Moise Caicedo. There's another one here from Mason says, cannot believe that West Ham are going to be in the same position they were 18-plus months ago, selling a striker without having a replacement in place. We're going to be talking about their midfield in a moment, actually, Mason. And there's one more that we can read out as well. Craig says that Liverpool need at least 3 between now and the start of the season. So there's a West Ham fan there a little bit worried, Dave, and you agree that they need to do some stuff quick.
They do need to do some signings, and I think they probably will do some signings as well before they kick off against Bournemouth away, and that's going to be a really tough away game as well under the new manager at Bournemouth. I feel a little bit jealous because the other guys here have got 2 pages on their graphics with incomings, but unfortunately I've only got 1 page, and all it's got on there at the moment is outgoings for West Ham. And there's the old saying in football, if you stand still, you go backwards. Well, West Ham have gone backwards immediately anyway because they've lost Declan Rice in the heart of that midfield. Gianluca Scamacca, we know, is heading to Atalanta as well after the club's agreed a deal worth £27.5 million. That's a year after they signed him as well for £35.5 million. So I understand the feelings of the West Ham fans getting in touch with us this morning. It feels a little bit déjà vu for them having not made a Premier League signing, and the only team in the Premier League not to have made an incoming in this summer transfer window. What we do know is Edson Alvarez looks the most likely situation that might evolve over the next few days. Talks ongoing between West Ham and Ajax over the signing of the central midfielder. You remember that Chelsea were in for Alvarez as well in the January transfer window when they were looking for a central midfielder. They ended up going back in for Enzo Fernandez and getting that done. But he's been on the radar of some of the top clubs around Europe. There is a gap in valuation, but I think there's a willingness on all sides that will get done. There's things going on behind the scenes at West Ham. I think it's well documented. We've reported it. Other outlets have reported it as well. They've got a new technical director, Tim Stuyton. He's well known and wants to bring in younger players who can develop and perhaps West Ham can sell on for a profit. David Moyes likes Premier League experience. They've been looking at Scott McTominay, Conor Gallagher. A player that both of them do have in common is James Ward-Prowse. But again, there was an issue of evaluation there and whether West Ham were willing to pay the money that Southampton wanted for him. So I think from West Ham's point of view, they need to make signings. Central midfield is the obvious area that they need to strengthen. But losing Scamacca, does that mean they need to go out and sign a striker as well?
Well, looking at their midfield here, I mean, Flynn Downs is still there, but wasn't a regular starter anyway last season. Thomas Souček is still there. Pablo Fornals is quite an attacking midfielder, and of course Lucas Paqueta is more of a number 10. So that is clearly the area they're targeting, and rightly so. But that is a good point about the strikers, though.
Yeah.
If Scamacca's going already, and a lot of West Ham fans in January and last summer were saying they were still short in that area, then they've got to focus on at least 2 areas there.
It was a really tough defeat for West Ham as well over the weekend. They lost 4-0 at Bayer Leverkusen. You talk about Flynn Downs there. I think from David Moyes' point of view, he found it tough to adapt at West Ham. But I think from Flynn Downs' point of view, he will now feel like there's a natural development for him this year, and he'll be looking to get more minutes. Downs, Souček, Paquetá started against Bayer Leverkusen. You're right, Pablo Fornals is an option, but he's mostly played his football out wide rather than in central areas. But you look at Danny Ings, who they brought in January. He was the big hope that he would score the goals in order to keep them up. But not only has there been Scamacca, who looks like he's going to leave, but there's also been question marks around Michail Antonio as well, and interest in him from Saudi Arabia. So it is all up in the air, and we've got only a few days to go before the start of the Premier League season, and West Ham start against Bournemouth on Saturday.
Right, Dave, that was so in-depth on West Ham. We're going to go to a break now, and James and Kwaku will get their turn to say who needs to do lots of work between now and the Premier League kicking off at the weekend. Straight back to the World Cup, last 16. Any sign of a breakthrough for England? Let's ask Lee Hendry.
They've had half an opportunity, and I've just watched the replay, and it's Russo's header. Greenwood flashes a lovely ball in from this left-hand side, dead ball situation. Great delivery, and just watch Russo. She's got an actual free header, gets away from a mark and gets the header completely wrong, and it goes wide. Nigeria have had half a chance as well on this right-hand side. Kanu, brilliant run, flashes a ball across the 6-yard area, and it's Onumonu comes in and completely misjudges it, doesn't get any contact. I feel that was probably a great opportunity for Nigeria to go 1-0 up. Really tense moments at this moment in time, Tom. It still remains 0-0.
Lee, thank you. Right, the breaking news is about James McArthur, the central midfielder. He has decided in the last few moments to announce his retirement from football. We've got a statement here from James McArthur, but in terms of his career, very loyal player. Hamilton Academical, he was there as a kid from 2003 until 2010, then 4 years at Wigan Athletic, and from 2014 until this summer, 2023, one of the best signings Crystal Palace have ever made, 240 appearances for them, as well as 32 caps and 4 goals for his country, Scotland. And I've got a statement that he's put on social media in the last few minutes. He says, after 18 years of playing professional football, the game I love, today I am announcing my retirement. After playing for 3 amazing clubs in Hamilton Academical, Wigan and Crystal Palace, and representing my country, I can only look back on the past 18 years with immense pride. I cannot thank the players, managers, coaches, owners, staff members and fans enough for always supporting me and being a huge part of my journey, a day that I never wanted to happen, but a decision that I know is right for me and my family. Not entirely sure what the future holds, but I'm looking forward to the next chapter in my career. Well, James, you're always welcome here at Sky Sports News. He has announced his retirement today after 18 years as a professional. Now, back to what we were talking about before the break. That was who needs to do what and quickly, as in before the season starts. Not between now and the end of the transfer window, between now and the start of the Premier League season. Dave's talked about West Ham.
Been a really difficult summer so far for them, and last week the Wolves chairman felt that he needed to speak and calm the fans down somewhat, saying he's not going to sell the club and that they are trying to strengthen the squad despite the financial fair play constraints they find themselves having to deal with at the moment. In terms of what they've done so far in this window, in terms of bringing players in, Matt Doherty joined the club on a free, rejoined the club after 2 years away, and Boubacar Kamara was another player that has joined as well. That was a loan last season. They confirmed that permanently. And then Tom King as well, young player from Northampton. You wouldn't expect to feature too much this season, but it's largely, when you look at the outgoings, is why you can see why Wolves fans are so concerned at the moment. Ruben Neves, Nathan Collins and Connor Cody, 3 senior players leaving. João Moutinho and Adama Traore also are departing the club, and Raul Jimenez leaving last week for Fulham. And you can see Julen Lopetegui is clearly quite frustrated. He did an interview with Guillaume Balaguer last week and said, I came here with a project and an idea to be able to save the team and be able to improve, but it was bad news for me. We need players to balance the squad and be competitive in the Premier League. So this is his first pre-season, first full pre-season at Wolves. I don't think the idea when he joined the club during the World Cup was to be involved in a relegation battle with his Wolves side. I think Wolves fans thought they'd see a good style of football, a side competing up the Premier League after 3 fairly tiresome years where they weren't scoring goals. Yes, they retained their Premier League status, but the football wasn't brilliant. And you'd look at the squad at the moment, they could do with additions in defence, midfield and attack. 1 week to go until their opening match against Manchester United on Monday. I think Manchester United fans will be licking their lips at the prospect of having Wolves at home on Monday.
I'm just going to quickly interrupt there because we've got quite interesting news on the future of Mo Salah, OK, because we've got some quotes, some direct quotes from his agent. Liverpool fans, if you're worried about him going out to Saudi Arabia, don't be anymore, according to his agent, because he says Mo Salah will not be leaving Liverpool this summer for anyone, let alone Saudi Arabia. His name is Rami Abbas Issa, who represents him, and there has been some social media stories linking Salah with Saudi Arabia. Well, he says, his agent, if we considered leaving Liverpool this year, we wouldn't have renewed his contract last summer. Mohamed remains committed to Liverpool Football Club. He signed that new contract with Liverpool until 2025, so he's still got 2 years left on that deal, which he signed last summer, and at the age of 31, with 2 years left on that deal. Liverpool very keen to keep him, and according to Mo Salah's agent, Mo Salah very happy to stay. So rest easy, Liverpool fans. Right, OK, so Dave has talked about West Ham. James has talked about Wolves. Kwaku, who have you gone for?
I've gone for Fulham, and it's interesting with them because last season they had a great season, went under the radar, obviously first season back in the Premier League, finished 10th. But because this summer's been shrouded in so much uncertainty when it comes to the manager and their key players, the spine of their team, you think about Tosin Adarabioyo and you think about Palhinha and Mitrovic. And they're a side, if you look at the incomings there, they've made some good signings. Calvin Bassey, who's a great signing, obviously played Champions League football last year, and Raul Jimenez, who's a proven striker in the Premier League. But they're trying to preempt quite a lot because of this uncertainty. And if you look at the outgoings, they haven't really weakened their first 11. But with Fulham, for me, it's about consolidating what they did last season and also strengthening the squad. Callum Hudson-Odoi is a man who's been linked with Fulham quite heavily, Damari Gray as well. That's to make kind of Manor Solomon is the man who left the club. He was on loan for Shakhtar Donetsk last season. And Hudson-Odoi and Damari Gray can kind of fulfil the role of what he did last season. And they're also a side who are, in terms of centre-back options, Tim Ream's a player who played very, very well last season, but he's 35 years old right now. I've already outlined that his future is up in the air. So a centre-back for Fulham and a player in the wide area would be something to strengthen their squad for next season and definitely kind of consolidate what they did last season.
Right, OK, yeah, it's key, isn't it, that they can keep hold of Mitrovic and, of course, João Palhinha as well. Right, we've just got time to bring you our free agent 11. Difficult time for players without clubs when the season is underway or about to get underway. Now, James, last week we put this together. We've had to make a couple of changes, haven't we?
Yeah, we have done 3 changes. We congratulate the players that have left our free agents 11 and have found themselves clubs. So Yerry Mina,
we wish them best for the
Lucas
future.
Moura and Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I hope we get 10% of whatever they're getting for helping facilitate the move. But Yerry Mina, Fiorentina, Lucas Moura to Sao Paulo and Ainsley Maitland-Niles close to move to Lyon. So in come Phil Jones, Axel Tuanzebe and Ross Barkley as well. And there could be some of these players very close to joining clubs. But it does show, if you haven't got a huge amount of money, yes, the wages would cost quite a lot for those players. But there are options out there.
Yeah, and actually there's a lot of options that didn't quite get in there as well, isn't there? I mean, Tom Davies being one of them, and just going down through this list, if any of these players do get clubs, we've got plenty of players. We've got strength in depth in our free agent 11. Right, OK, Good Morning Transfers is back at 9 a.m. tomorrow, 9 o'clock until 10 o'clock, every weekday until the window closes. And this team will be back for Transfer Talk in a couple of hours, midday until 1 p.m. And that's not all, because you've got 2 offerings of the Transfer Show as well. You've got 5 p.m. and then 2 hours later at 7 p.m. as well. It is still 0-0 in the game between England and Nigeria in the World Cup last 16. 65 minutes gone in this one. England are starting to press Nigeria and try to get that crucial winner. Lee Hendry will keep us updated throughout the morning.